best crypto asset? Bitcoin is the best crypto asset. Which one's the best? 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 What's the second best?
This is Discover Crypto, and every day on this channel we teach you how to make money with digital assets. And we got a major show today, especially if you hold XRP. We're going to talk about a $600 XRP. Sorry, $6 XRP. Still very bullish. And we got to look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin's starting to dump this morning. And we got some major news talking about the government shutdown and how is this going to affect your altcoins, those altcoin ETFs, which might be that next leg up. And we got to talk about what is happening with the Chinese meme coins. Join here with TJ. TJ, how are you doing today?
Doing good. Other than if you guys were here with us early this morning, Drew was online and got the Jerome Powell PSYOP, where he teased a big announcement. He was going to make this big speech and just came out and says, community banks, they're good, even though we know we're killing them. You know, that was a little frustrating. But other than that, feeling good. Life is good. We are blessed. Happy to be here.
All right. Well, I'll tell you who's not happy to be here. People who have been longing Bitcoin for the last few hours here. If we share the chart, you can see Bitcoin just on a nice little dump here. This is just a 1 minute chart. So we are talking about a small time frame, but in a fairly short amount of time, you see Bitcoin eating away in 2 hours, about $2,500 off this asset price. Is dipped from almost 124 all the way down to 121,300 right now. But zooming out, remember we were talking about the 4-hour candles, this little impulse that we do every single time. I want to share an update. So we talked about we spike into oversold typically 3 or 4 times every time we're in an uptrend. But what happens in the interim between those spikes? Well, if we look at just the last 1 or 2 times Bitcoin spike, you see RSI gets overheated, and then the RSI usually comes down to at least the halfway point before it starts its another leg up. This one went even a little bit lower. If we go to the previous push up into new all-time highs, we're just looking at when Bitcoin goes into new all-time highs here, went into deep oversold. RSI corrected all the way down at the bottom before it peaked back up and then peaked back up a second and a third time here. So RSI is starting to lose a little momentum. You see we're kind of bouncing around in the middle range, but when you go to the 1 hour, starting to see a little bit of strength, starting to see a little bit of life, and almost even seeing some hidden divergence here as the RSI picking up some steam. So that might be a little dip opportunity right here. But wow, those hour candles looking pretty beefy there, TJ.
Yeah, it's I'm seeing a lot of more XRP hate in the chat than normal. A lot of people screaming about XRP, but you know, on the chart we cover, I think it was yesterday we covered it. Retail was reaching peak FUD and peak hate against it, and usually that might mean it's time for a bounce. We've been seeing that on a lot of altcoins lately. I don't know if you pulled up the total market cap or total 3 or any of those we could look at. I'm sure. I know Bitcoin dominance has been climbing back up the last week or so, which probably means, yeah, total 3 on the way down. But if we zoom out a little bit, is there any support anywhere close? Kind of, sort of at a point of control.
Yeah, I mean, you can almost say maybe we're starting to form an upside down head and shoulders, but we definitely would need to start forming this other shoulder pretty quickly. And you know, we still do have that breakout target there. I do like to look at the total 3 ES. This is going to be the total altcoins, excluding Bitcoin, ETH, and stablecoins. This is a little bit closer to the others chart. And we are still far, you know, I don't want to say far away from breaking out, but yeah, we still got a ways to go before we can do the breakout dance, before we really start getting happy and start break dancing like, was it Rice Gum or whatever that lady was in Australia? I forget her name now. What was her name? What was that lady's name that was breakdancing?
Yeah, and we have Olympics coming back up again. I mean, it seems like it's going to be here before you know it. So I guess are you a summer Olympics person or winter Olympics person?
So my mother was a huge fan of the Olympics, and I'm older, so she always watched Christy Yamaguchi. And I was there during the whole Tanya Harding, Nancy Kerrigan drama, which put a lot of, we're talking pre-internet, you know, really just entertaining television. All eyes were glued. America was glued to that story. But me, I guess I'm a summer guy. I don't really even care. I like the opening ceremony more than anything.
Interesting. Yeah, let us know, chat. Are you summer or winter? I was thinking I
Amen.
couldn't even decide the other day because I saw the Winter Olympics. I grew up playing hockey, so I like a lot of the winter sports. Snowboarding is cool, and there's definitely a lot of cool winter sports. But then, summer there's a lot of good stuff too. So
Yeah, Rice Gum is a famous YouTuber. When I said it, I knew it wasn't correct. He's, a little bit of a shock jock, if you will. But we do see people talking about Taylor Swift here. We got some Swifties in the chat. Taylor Swift did just drop that new album. TJ, what's your favorite song?
I haven't heard one song from it yet. I was gonna ask if that's Cat's altcoin or alt account in there pushing Tasteway, but I'm sure I'll hear it at some point.
Ruin the Friendship is going to be the best song off the new album. All right, let's look at the crypto markets here. Swifties, let me know if you're a Swiftie. Bitcoin is down 0.8%. We can see ETH down 3.3%. But BNB, if you think the BNB dump is bad, wait till I show you the meme coins a little bit later on in this episode here. BNB is down 5.4%, Dogecoin down 4%, and Cardano down about 2.5%. We look at the major losers, major winners. We got Zcash crushing it. We're about to check out that chart. And we have Monero, kind of copying that privacy. Aster dumping. Aster a disaster. Dump here. Pump.fun is down as well. Aptos is down. Jupiter is down. But Jupiter is down off some bullish news. So we're going to talk about that bullish news with Jupiter and an altcoin that I've chosen that is doing, I would say, relatively well today. About an hour ago, it was one of the only coins in the green here. And if we look, it's, kind of leading the ways. But Solana doing better than most. Bitcoin doing better than most. And Trump meme coin back into the top 100. I feel like Obi-Wan Kenobi, but like that's a name I haven't heard in many a age there.
Yeah, the memes, it seems like obviously World Liberty Fi took a lot of the thunder out of that. I know I rolled any of my Trump meme into World Liberty Fi at the time that came out. So, but I do think, BNB ecosystem, what it's done in the last week or two has reignited some people's interest in meme coins. And then just as fast, they see it turn sideways and not go straight up for a day. People get angry quick. But I do think we're getting back into the risk on part of the cycle. We've been talking about Solana. I think Solana is actually holding up pretty well, all things considered. Let me see if I have that here. I should. Yeah, I mean, only down, 0.3% on the 24-hour compared to, Ethereum 3%, BNB 5%. So I have a feeling Solana rotation's coming next. We've been talking about that. We are going to do some uploads on some of the, core ecosystem plays and then some of the more high risk plays in the Solana ecosystem as well. Look out for those later this week because I do think it's important to be ahead of the rotation. And BNB, if you're bridging over to BSC now, you're behind the rotation. So try to front run the next one. It's a little bit of a speculation, but we think, with ETFs coming and, a lot of different stuff like that, I think it's a good time to be in Solana. So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, shout out to Raygun. Little cronyism there is how she got there. Yeah, thoughts on Doge inverse head and shoulders. Yeah, we've been bullish on Doge since I would say one of those shoulders around 21 cents and trying to take some profit around 30. Had my exit opportunity around 28, 29. I was away from the phone. I think it happened in the wee hours. Clash for the win. Take 2 minutes, do your own research. Yeah, shout out to George. And I was a huge Clash of Clans fan years and years ago, but it was just sucking my time away. I had to step away from that thing. Also, you would see Korean characters. You're about to get wrecked. There's people really, really good at the game. But let me show you a couple charts, everybody. Zcash. We got to talk about Zcash. It's the biggest mover today. A lot of people are asking, well, when is Zcash going to slow down? I don't want to say it's this simple, but I actually do think it is this simple. I think Zcash is just going to run up to this, find a little resistance, maybe do a little bit of pullback. If it continues to be bullish, just look at the previous alt run. Look at the 2021 movements here, but be careful. And if you're up in profit, feel free to take that profit on Zcash because when it dumps, this is during a bull market. That was an 80% dump right there. It would then fall again, fell 72%. So it fell 80%, then it fell 70%. And then you can see it fell another 70%. But really, it was a slow bleed to 90% once you zoom out there.
So what's the top of that first peak? That's 215. Is that where that? Yeah,
92. Yeah, that's 367, 365 days in a year, and $365 per coin right there.
There you go. Yeah, it's interesting. The second, if you just simply on CoinMarketCap, Zcash top mover, and then Monero second top, and then exchange. So interesting. Two privacy coins being the top two movers is, just interesting. That's all I'll
Have
say.
you seen the silver chart lately, though, TJ?
I have, yeah.
Woo!
Official all-time high for the first time in 45 years. Not near all-time high, actually touched all-time high, right? Yeah.
Look at this daily chart, everybody. That thing is parabolic. That is huge. We've been talking about silver.
Wow.
I did not take my butt to the pawn shop and buy some silver coins. Clearly, we should have. I am going to start looking into options trading on Robinhood for some of these precious metals. I think, palladium or I think there's a little opportunity there. Might be some opportunity for gold. So let me know if you want me to share some of that content as we trade some of these gold futures, maybe even silver futures. So yeah, when you zoom out, as TJ said, we've finally broken the 80s pump that we saw and the pump that we saw right around 2011, I think that was. So nice pump. And this is when during the decline, somewhere around here was when I was like, nah, man, you got to get silver. It's retraced from its all-time high. My buddy's like, no, buy Bitcoin. I'm like, we'll check back in on this in a year.
Yeah, and I almost might take the short side of the option on. So, I mean, I do think precious metals obviously crushing it, and I would say John Dalton in our Discord, he's been crushing trading some metals and some adjacent companies that hold precious metals and that kind of stuff. So, if you guys are interested in that, let me know, or just get in the Discord and check it out. It's good stuff. But what I was going to say was, yeah, Peter Brandt came out and pointed out there is such thing as a triple top. That is a pattern. That is something to be aware of. Not saying I think it's going to immediately dump. I've been obviously very bullish on commodities this whole time. I've said, Bitcoin is fine, gold is fine, real estate's good. So, it's something to be aware of. It's obviously you see central banks loading up on gold, other people loading up on silver. And it's what it really shows is it's fiat currencies failing and no trust in government issued currency because of how much debasement's going on. So I do think these could continue to run, but I would say if you don't hold silver now, I would be careful porting your whole net worth into silver after a 45-year high, because it could.
Yeah.
Could
You typically don't want to buy a wick when you're looking at something like that. You're going to be looking at, basically coming in at the top of something. You don't exactly want to do that, everybody. Now, I do have a little thing I want to share here. This is just a prediction. This is a prediction from CNBC, Citibank. I think this is on CNB Fast Money, I want to say. But Citibank predicts Bitcoin bull run will continue through late 2026. Not going to play all 45 seconds. Just want to show the first 20 or so. But this is a very, very great prediction if you're bullish on crypto.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think going into late 26, your forecast for Bitcoin and Ether are pretty good, yes?
Not mine, but our teams. Yeah. So we're looking for continued follow through there. It kind of comes back to your discussion earlier on how to think about your alts in terms of gold and crypto.
So even large bankers, Citibank is a very, very large bank. I think even they can see the writing on the wall, TJ. A lot of this precious metal profit is going to be moving into the digital assets. I think it's pretty obvious. People are going to take profits on gold and move it into digital gold, especially when you look at the difference in market caps, 25 trillion plus to 2.5 trillion. There's a 10x opportunity for buying Bitcoin, even at these inflated prices.
Yeah, I agree. And this is why, if you guys heard me talking about that Michael Saylor interview yesterday, this is why I recommend you guys all watch it, because it's based on credit. And if you understand the way the economy works right now, the way fiat currencies work, it's all a credit-based system. You can say it sucks. You can say you hate Keynesian economics. You prefer Austrian economics. I agree with you there. Either way, the world is on Keynesian economics, which is a credit-based, debt-based system. And the way that they're issuing credit, it's going to be the premium lenders will be the ones that hold the most gold. That's what it was before. And now that they're getting digital credit or Bitcoin-backed credit, the ones that hold gold and Bitcoin are going to be the premium lenders. So now that they're opening up the banks to allow and understand Bitcoin backed credit and loan against it, there's going to be, right now we're at the 100% backed stage. Banks that have 1-to-1 backing, we're not going to make a loan for anything that we don't have in Bitcoin to back it up 1-to-1, 100% backed. Obviously, most of the world right now works on fractional reserve banking, which they'd lend out 10 times more than they actually have. Now it's 100% more than they actually have. So we are going to get into that environment where we see people getting more and more competitive with the loans that they're willing to make, with the finance that they're willing to make, with the credit. And it's all going to be based on how much gold you have and how much Bitcoin you have. So yes, that's why everybody's accumulating gold at the fastest rate ever. And then I do think, like the flip of a switch, you will see them start to accumulate Bitcoin at the fastest rate ever, if it's not already happening, which you could argue it's already happening. And there's just the supplies getting, look at what MicroStrategy's done. Look at what some of these other treasury companies have done. This is going to continue. We're going to see acquisitions. It's going to be very interesting when we see a major legacy bank acquire a Bitcoin treasury company to add Bitcoin to their balance sheet. That could possibly happen next year, but it's all going to be around these credit-based systems. And Michael Saylor, he's doing the Lord's work with educating the regulators and the banks and creating the term digital credit and creating this concept and making people, the financiers of the world, putting it in a language that they can understand. That's what I think he's doing really, really well. And he's not doing it alone. Obviously, David Bailey and MetaPlanet. There's obviously, even Stani from Aave and Sergey from Chainlink. They're doing a lot of educating of regulators. There's Brian Armstrong and the exchanges doing their part to educate regulators, because obviously Coinbase stands to profit tremendously from being this type of custodian and regulator. So all of these things are coming. It truly is a finance paradigm shift that we're going to see happen. It's going to happen right in front of your eyes. And I saw a post earlier today that says that every generation has their their generational trade. Maybe your grandparents, that might have been real estate, it could have been equities for your stocks, for your parents, for us and everybody that's alive and investing right now, it's Bitcoin. And so don't fumble this bag, accumulate as much Bitcoin as you can, because that's what's going to determine if your credit worthiness in this system. Again, you can not like the rules if you want, but you got to play within the game. And I highly recommend everybody get as much Bitcoin as they can, as fast as they can.
All right, we got a comment here from Diesel. Look at Bitcoin and silver chart, with silver broke in the past. Huge Bitcoin moves. I'm going to start doing some more research. It's been over a month since we talked about gold and Bitcoin in an upload. I'll pull up silver. Look for that one probably tomorrow. I think today we got to talk about the idiot trade. Tonight's upload is going to be on the idiot trade. This is a term popularized by Raoul Paul, and it just means idiots. And we say that lovingly because we're all idiots at one point. They're going to open up a crypto brokerage account, whether it's Robinhood or Coinbase, call up, their financial guru, and they're going to want to buy the coins that are cheap versus the coins that are expensive. And they're not really going to care too much about the market cap, circulating supply, whether it's finite, whether it's infinite. They're going to worry about, I could get a bunch of X coin versus Y coin because X coin is cheaper than Y coin. So it's the idiot trade. We're going to talk about best altcoins under $1. And I tell you what, folks, type in your best altcoin under $1. I guarantee I'm going to be throwing some of these in there. Yeah, you got it, Diesel. Thank you. Big Daddy Diesel coming through. Now let's talk about XRP. It's above $1, so don't be spamming XRP, everybody. I do Arrow. Arrow's like right above $1. I don't know if that one's going to make it, but XRP's most bullish pattern targeting $6. Despite the latest correction here. So price held above 280 on Thursday, increasing the chance of rallying towards cup and handle pattern target above $6. Before we get into the rest of the article, well, let's look. So we've talked about this. We do have our little breakout, and TJ, look at that. It looks like it's about to test the bottom. Typically, you do see a little bit of support. Now we have wick below, so it's no guarantee we're going to bounce once we hit that white line. But we got a nice little target here. This is looking around 364. But they're talking about like a larger move. So we're going to pull up this, and we're going to pull up this. Here we go. Actually, I thought it was larger. It's a little bit smaller. We can see it on the 4-hour. We can see it on the daily here. A cup and handle on XRP is forming. We do have a target for this. Let's go ahead and measure it. You can see the handle. It's been extending. Let me hide this real quick. Our target essentially is going to be from the bottom of the cup to the neckline. Is what they call this. And then from the breakout, some people measure it from the neckline. Some people measure it from the breakout of the handle. I can make an argument for either one here. So we'll run both. This is looking pretty bullish, folks. If it comes from the bottom of the handle, yeah, you're looking at a $5 XRP still. However, there are people who say, no, it's got to run this far. Still looking at 562, 550. Very bullish target for XRP if this does play out. You do see the same thing on Solana too. Now, price has dropped over the last 7 days. It hit a low of 281 on Thursday, 23% drawdown from the multi-year high of 366 to its current level. But despite the pullback, strong technical setup on the higher time frames, suggesting the upside still intact. Now, Milky Bull shared a chart projecting massive breakout. He describes this as the most bullish pattern, and that was the cup and handle that we just looked at. And he was looking at a 3-day. You can see it right there. So might be using a log chart. You know, we don't like using the log chart, but 550 still very bullish. Other analysts still optimistic about the move higher, citing strong whale accumulation and optimism around the ETF approvals. Clicking in on that before we get there, though, liquidation cluster. Yeah, I do see it. I see the little liquidation cluster. Got to zoom out a little bit far, but oh crap! I'm sorry. I'm looking at Cardano. You know I'm gonna look at Cardano. Going to XRP though. Yeah, definitely the cluster is above. This is suggesting the exchanges stand to make more money if XRP's price goes up. TJ, does Binance like to lose money?
No, Binance is one of the best at making money.
They're one of the best at making money. They're going to make more money if XRP starts pumping, everybody. So there you go. That's your setup. Now we do have three reasons XRP is still going to pump soon, and the time under $3 is going to be short-lived. Investor optimism over the ETFs. We have whale accumulation and a break on, we already talked about the chart. So let's zoom in on the ETF. Let's zoom in on the whale. ETF, we have multiple ETF filings. Here are the pertinent details. Between the 18th and October 25th, I'm going to talk about the shutdown a little bit later. So if you're wondering, well, how does the shutdown affect this? Just stick around. Now, there's 11 ETF proposals here have surpassed their listing standards, raising the possibility simultaneous approval. So we might see a combination flurry of 11 ETFs. So that's number one. Number two, we already looked at, that's the TA. So we got bullish ETF news. We got bullish charts. What's the third thing? Whale accumulation on XRP is getting really bullish. We're just looking at the last 72 days. Over the last 3 days, whales have accumulated 55 million XRP, which somehow made $1 billion. I think they mean 550 million, because that would only be 100. Yeah, 55 million isn't $1 billion. It's $3 a piece. So it'd be $150 million there. So not sure where they're getting this number, but whale accumulation, at the end of the day, you can just look at the flows. Whales are starting to accumulate more. And you see they sold at the top. Now they're starting to accumulate. And they're selling at the top. Now they're starting accumulating. When they start accumulating, that's when the price starts going up, folks. And the whales are accumulating.
No, I like that. I mean, we've been calling for $5.89 since 2022, basically $5.89. I just want to be clear on that. Since pretty much the whole time, and it looks like the chart's saying that, and could happen. I see Martin Green in the chat asking us if anyone else is from the UK. I think we have a decent amount of viewers from the UK, but I'm just curious, is anybody else in the chat from the UK right now? I know.
Wales, Ireland.
Let us know where you're from.
Were you going to vote for Connor before they shut him out? They shut him out there.
They did. He's too maybe not too aggressive, but too honest, maybe too open.
They don't have an open process over in the UK. In America, we do have a little bit of a different system. We have a federalization of, there's 50 federal municipalities, if you will. And so you have to get signatures at all 50 states. And so you can grassroots your way onto a ballot, but we saw lawfare against Trump that, they will try to get you off a ballot if they don't want you on a ballot. But Ireland, I mean, they rule with the iron fist.
They do. And if you guys are in the U.S., put the state. If you're outside the U.S., put the country, because we have about 49% of our viewers are in the U.S., and then the rest are from all over the world. I've seen a couple Floridas, Hungary, Sweden. Yeah, Hungary's cool. Of course. We've got the middle school guy in here. He's from Uranus, We always got one of those guys in the chat, but
hey, man, he's typing from the future, all right? Elon Musk, obviously after Mars, he's going to Uranus. I mean,
did you see Luxembourg? Did you see the news?
Oh, we got that news. We got that news, and I got the breakdown because people talk about the GD. Oh, it's the third richest nation. We'll kind of cover that as well. Now we do have a $5 super chat. You talked about take it back Arculus wallet for complete midnight claim using NuFi. Can you explain this more? So when you sign up a Arculus or any kind of wallet, cold storage, you're going to get a seed phrase. You can export that wallet to other wallets. And so if you export that wallet to, I guess it was the NuFi, I remember it was very, very, that is it. So if you export to there, then you're able to claim. And you have 9 days left, I think, on that. So maybe 12. So it's around 10 days left on that. So hurry up, and don't worry, I'm gonna do one more midnight video right before we go. Eligible for the claim there. All right, so we got Communist Republic of Minnesota. Do you hear the prayer calls? I'm not right. Let me move on. South Africa, Idaho. We love our spuds. Mississippi. Very magnificent river. Powerful river. If you ever get to put your eyes on it.
Fun fact, in Georgia, and growing up, everybody used to make, your dumb jokes about people from Alabama, and then everybody in Alabama makes your so dumb jokes about people from Mississippi. It's funny. There's just a little southern lore for you guys there.
I want to get into inbred Appalachia, but I'm not going to do it.
That's West Virginia. That's not down here.
Dirty Bay, man. I lived in Baytown for a while there. Shout out to Goose Creek Independent School District. All right, let's talk about Bitcoin, everybody. Bitcoin. This is kind of what I'm going to be covering tomorrow. Someone brought up silver. We're going to talk about silver. We're going to talk about gold. This is Bitcoin priced in gold. And it has basically been in this range since the run up in 2021. When Bitcoin put in its new all-time high, when you price it in gold, I guess similar to USD, very, very similar prices here. So it kind of forms the top. And then you can also see on the monthly chart, could not create the candle body above this line. So right now, we're at support, suggesting Bitcoin is about a pump against gold. That means one of two things. Gold stays flat or goes up, but Bitcoin outpumps it, or gold's going to decline a little bit. And basically, money from gold, in my opinion, is going to be moving heavily into Bitcoin. Again, you can't look at $26 trillion market cap and a $2 trillion market cap. They're very, very similar. A lot of people think gold is not as good as Bitcoin. I think I would consider myself in that camp. So, yeah, I think there will be a flippening eventually.
Did you see that gold versus Bitcoin ad that India ran?
Yeah. So India, I'll pull it up in a little bit here. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So India, saying the quiet part out loud, they ran this. This is not an ad for gold. It's how much gold you can get with one Bitcoin. And it's just interesting that they're pushing that. And, the main thing I would say is, and another thing that Michael Saylor touches on in his interview that I keep shilling is how easy it is to custody Bitcoin compared to gold. Like you could say, yeah, it takes some experience and there's some risk in it. You got to have some technical understanding, sure, but you don't have to hire a whole security team of all to safe, all this kind of stuff. So it's way easier to custody, and it's definitely way easier to transfer. And he said, if just for those two reasons alone, this has been an order of magnitude shift because, back when we were trying to use gold to back stuff, like the custody was the biggest problem. It was basically in 2 to 4 banks around the world that actually were doing the custody. And then there's famous stories of people going down to look for it and it's not there and all this different stuff. So I'm just very, very obviously, that's why we're here. Extremely bullish on Bitcoin. I love gold. I'm not trying to FUD any gold bugs. Hopefully you've got, the perfect scenario is your dad or your grandpa's got tons of gold and you've got all the Bitcoin, and then your family should be fine. You open your own bank.
Yeah. We got a little silver, we got a little gold, we got some physical. We hold. We don't talk about that paper, but let's talk about Luxembourg now. This is breaking from this morning. Luxembourg just announced they invested 1% of their sovereign wealth fund into Bitcoin, and some are saying this is the world's 4th richest country buying Bitcoin. 4th richest country. We've kind of talked about this. We're talking about GDP per capita. So GDP per capita is basically, you look at the GDP, you divide by the population, and then that gives you a number. So if you go by, I think it's the UN numbers, they do have them at number 3. If you go by World Bank numbers, which is the most recent, 2024, they're coming in at number 4 after Bermuda, but still very, very bullish. Now, we're talking about an insanely rich country per capita. Monaco, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, Bermuda coming in. Ireland, very surprising Ireland's on there, right? But they do have very advantageous tax incentives. That's why Apple was incorporated there. Switzerland makes sense. Cayman Island makes sense. Singapore, Iceland. So we're talking about Luxembourg here, putting their vast wealth into Bitcoin. But TJ, I thought it was a little more vast. I thought it was, but it's still very, very bullish. But now it's 1% of 900 million. So they put 9 million into Bitcoin ETFs.
Yeah, it's not a huge amount of money. What's interesting to me is the area, and it's another sovereign wealth fund. Yeah, and it's over there, likely to be that part of Europe that starts to do it, and then we'll likely see Switzerland do it soon, and a lot of these other ones that are over there. So it's more of the signaling of what's to come versus the actual amount that goes in. I mean, just the fact that we're talking about sovereign wealth funds investing anything in Bitcoin sounds, for somebody like me who's been doing this for such a long time, it sounded like crazy talk back, years and years ago. So it's great to see it. I think we're going to see it in larger and larger numbers soon. And we're going to see, obviously, it's going to play out very successfully for these people, which, I mean, you just look at what El Salvador's done, what Bhutan has done, these tiny little nations, they will soon be, much more economically powerful than other late adopters. So it's a great step forward for Bitcoin on the world stage. And it's going to be nice to start to see other areas over there happen too. I mean, Germany with the biggest L. They're not. I don't know how they're going to recover from that. It's going to be looked at as one of the worst decisions by a finance of a company of a.
It's the biggest mistake in a century, is what people are calling it there. All right, this is the finance minister Gillis Roth. This is him talking about Bitcoin right after telling this guy to send 4 goons towards John Wick. I'm going to keep that puppy. Didn't he have that vibe? Like Liam Neeson has to fight him at the end of the movie or something?
Definitely Bond villain vibes, or he's definitely trafficking something, he's...
He has a hairless pet, and it's not an animal. It's a human. All right. Now, they did note that the sovereign wealth will continue to invest equity and debt, but now authorize up to 15% of their assets into alternative investments. So they just did 1%. They might 10x that, 15x that. I don't know, because that basket is going to include crypto, real estate, and private equity. Still, direct cryptocurrency, that was too risky to avoid operational risk. Their exposure has been taken through a selection of ETFs. All roads lead to Larry Fink and BlackRock, everybody. We keep saying it for a reason.
So I got this question from Gary Austin. Do you think Bitcoin can get to 2 million in 20 years? Before you answer, chat, let me know. 1 for yes, 2 for no. 1, you think Bitcoin can get to 2 million in 20 years? 2, you don't think it will. Now that we've got that out there, chat's going to be rolling their answer in. What do you think, DZ? 20 years?
I think it's yes. That's a yes. 2 million in 20 years. I mean, I feel like 10 is on the table then.
I agree. I agree. 20 years, I think we could be looking at that 10. Michael Saylor says 13 million. I think we could be looking at 1 million in 5 years, even, or less. So I think people aren't anticipating how fast this still can move. And again, I keep coming back to this. The move that gold has seen in the last 6 months of this year is astronomical. The amount of money that has flown into gold, just a quarter of that, or half of that even, takes us up to over a $500,000 Bitcoin. So we will see $1 million Bitcoin in our lifetime. We will see a $10 million Bitcoin in 20 years. We'll be retired with our $10 million Bitcoin. So that's why I'm telling you guys all, put effort into getting to 1 at least, if not more. Or do what you can. I mean, if it's 0.1, get 0.1. If it's 1, get 1. If it's 10, get. If it's 100, do what you can. And hey, if you're getting to 1,000, I want to be your friend. Call me.
Geopolitics, DXY is rising. Why? It long term, is going to keep getting hit. But again, you're comparing this to a basket of currencies. Primarily, it's going to be the euro there. It's like 54% of the basket there, Japanese yen, etc. I think that it was just oversold. It kind of dumped too much too quickly, and so then it had to recover. All right, we got the latest from Arthur Hayes. Now, I haven't had a chance. I do read Arthur Hayes' newsletters. But DZ, you're supposed to research. You're supposed to look. I haven't got to it yet. Okay, if you look, this is why I haven't read it yet. All right,
they're not
long.
Short.
No, it's a book. I'm still going. I'm still going. Oh my God, I got homework later on. But this is kind of the details that they're sharing here. Okay, that's gray. I was like, why are they giving him alopecia like out of nowhere? He doesn't have that, but that's gray hair. Look, I have it too. So nothing against people that got hair issues. BitMEX co-founder Arthur Hayes has agreed 4-year cycle is dead, but not for the reasons most people believe. He says that while it worked in the past, no longer applicable, is going to fail this time. He argued that Bitcoin's price cycles are driven by supply and quantity of money, primarily American and Chinese, rather than the arbitrary 4-year patterns linked to halving events, or as a direct result of institutional interest in crypto. Now, he's saying the current cycle is different. One of the reasons, U.S. President Trump wanting to run it hot with easier monetary policy to grow out of debt there. And it's all about the Chinese and the US money printing. So Bitcoin, he has data backing this up. He goes over the 3 cycles here. The first bull run coincided with quantitative easing and Chinese credit expansion, ended when both those central banks slowed their money printing. The second ICO cycle, driven primarily by the yuan credit explosion and the currency devaluation in 2015, not the USD. Bull market collapsed as the Chinese credit growth decelerated and the dollar conditions tightened. And then the last cycle, Bitcoin surged on USD liquidity alone, while China stayed restrained. And then it ended when the Fed began tightening in late 2021. China, though, will not kill the cycle this time. So there's a shift from deflationary headwind to at least neutral or even supportive monetary policy. And that removes a major obstacle that would have killed this cycle. So we got, bankers saying till the end of 2026. We got Arthur Hayes saying the 4-year cycle is dead. TJ likes the 1 and 2. Josh, I like the yes or the no, the Y or the N.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Is the 4-year cycle dead? Yes or no? And as those answers, TJ, I throw it to you. The 4-year cycle dead?
That's the question of this cycle, I would say. That is the hardest question. I'm leaning, and this is tough because as I've said many times, it's not dead until it's dead. So it's still in play until we get past Q4. We don't have any data to say definitive. I'm going to guess, otherwise you're just guessing. But I think until Q1 2026, we won't really know. My gut says I think it will change. This time will be different. Obviously that's what happens every time you hear somebody saying that. Now, 4-year cycle being dead doesn't mean we don't see some type of pullback in 2026. So I just want to tell you, be cautious. Part of my plan is to sell a lot of my altcoins into Bitcoin to kind of wait and see what happens and gather more information. But I also agree. And this might be worth after you do that full deep dive and read all his backing data and look into it, maybe doing a video on this and seeing what you think, because I do believe this is the most prevalent and important question for this cycle. Is this going to be different? And I'm leaning towards yes, maybe 65-35 or 60-40 even. But I'm leaning towards yes, we will see an extended cycle. The money printing, I always talk about the big, beautiful bill and the 3 spending bills they're going to do after that. I think they're going to do stimulus sometime next year before elections so they can claim it was part of the tariffs and all the political mumbo jumbo that happens. U.S. money printing, China money printing. I do think it will accelerate the price of Bitcoin. So I will say, if I had to make a decision, put money on the line, I would say, yes, I think this time will be different. But I say that with extreme caution because I've heard that said so many times before. And so far, the data speaks for itself. We do pull back. And if you guys aren't familiar, I'll give you a really quick 4-year cycle is based on the halving cycle of Bitcoin. And it's basically slow grind up for 1 year, parabolic up for another year, down parabolic for a year, sideways for a year. And that's kind of the 4-year cycle. So right now, 2025 would be the up. Traditionally, we should see a dramatic pullback in 2026, basically boring AF in 2027. Halving happens again in 2028. We move up slow, and then 2029 blow off top again. That is the rough 4-year cycle. And a lot of people are out there saying 2026, we could still continue to run. Say we run all the way to 200 to 300K, by sometime in the beginning or middle of next year. If we run all that, we will see some type of pullback. But the question is, do we run up to 200, pull back to 100? Do we run up to 350, pull back to 200? And if you look at this cycle, the structure of the move we've experienced through both 2024 and 2025, it's been much more sustainable. It has been a lot more like the traditional markets. Like there's big money and big market makers in here, accumulation phases, that sort of stuff, not like what we've seen in the past. So that is a reason to believe that a lot of things in this cycle are different than 4-year cycles of the past. But again, you can't call something dead until it's dead, and we're still in the parabolic phase, so it's not over yet.
All right, we see people getting heated over the XRP title. Let me just share this guy. I'm going to address you, JF, Hefe, Ether. Look, get away from ETH, all right? You're biased. You misspelled either with Ether, so I already know you're an ETH bull. Wait, are you Vitalik's mom? It might be Vitalik's mom. Either these guys are stupid or they own XRP and they're trying to pump it. I actually don't own any XRP at this moment, and suggesting XRP can go up 120% is not reckless or irresponsible or some like crazy move. That's not even clickbait.
Yeah, we're not saying 5,000, like many people. We're saying $5.89. Very doable. Very doable.
Yeah. There's the article says 6, and we're coming in like 550, 580. So look, if you don't think XRP can't go to 6, like, feel free to play some options. Short it. Go ahead. Now let's talk about Bitcoin. Get back to Bitcoin. Then we'll talk about altcoins and the shutdown and what it's going to mean for your altcoins here. Institutions have already bought more Bitcoin than all of 2024. And there's still 3 months left in the year. I want to share this mostly so I can just kind of look at the supply that's being issued along with what's being bought up by the institutions. Again, only institutions. You see, we have a halving in the middle of a halving year. This is the amount of Bitcoin that's produced. Halving year in the middle of a halving year. So 2024 is going to have a little bit of this supply run and a little bit of this supply run. That's why it's kind of in the middle here. This is how much Bitcoin is being created. This is how much Bitcoin was bought by Wall Street, essentially. And they have already eclipsed. We still have basically all of October, November, and December, suggesting, this could be 25% higher since we have a whole nother quarter. And we were talking about, ending up all the way up here. They're not making enough Bitcoin, folks. At the end of the day, they're not mining enough Bitcoin.
That's just somewhat of the data that backs up what I was saying. Like, look at the difference in 2020 and 2021 compared to 24 and 25. Like it's astronomically different. I see here Crypto22 saying everything has changed. I agree. There's a lot to say. Things are different. And on that note, I did want to mention we do have later on this afternoon a space going on. We're going to be doing these every Thursday. So if you guys are on X, go follow Discover Crypto and check out this space. It's going to be hosted by one of our other co-hosts, Kelly Kellum and Chris from Bitcoin IRA, and they're going to be talking about what's next in crypto. So a lot of really smart people, John Gillen previously with BlackRock, Zach Humphreys, Samuel Loyal. So a lot of really smart minds on macro going to be talking on spaces this afternoon. Make sure to go check that out. And while we're at it, obviously Bitcoin IRA, one of our partners here on the channel, really good product. We try to pick the best ones for you guys. There is a bonus, a sign-up bonus if you get in now, and you can fully trade your crypto. They support Bitcoin. They support many other digital assets as well. You can get a tax-free. If you do believe Bitcoin's going to $1 million, $10 million, you're going to want to have some tax protection in the future. And Bitcoin IRA is one of the easiest ways to do it. They can help you set one up. They can help you roll one over. And one of my favorite things about them is, and let me go to their main page where they've got their phone number. But they've got really, really good customer support. One of the best in the business. And you can literally, probably one of the only tech companies or crypto companies in the world right now. You just call them up, talk to them on the phone, and somebody will answer your questions in real time. That's one of my favorite things about them. So go check that out. It's a great product, and happy to be a partner with them.
All right. Now, I want to give a quick shout out to Binance with the recent pump. A lot of people are talking about this old tweet from 2021. Binance team had 40% of BNB from the ICO days. It was $37 billion. They have not sold a single token out of that 40%. Never intend to. We will burn it all. Now, fast forward to today, they had 40%. Goes to show how far they've come. That 40%, $72 billion that they are just going to light on fire, walk away like the Joker, like some sort of psycho freak.
Yeah. I mean, that's what Binance is built different. They've been doing burns for years. I did see somebody in the chat earlier today said they got their first BNB for $15. So they're very excited coming up on their 100x on BNB, which, very, very obvious, very early thing. I used to call them the Amazon of crypto, and happy to see all their success. And CZ, great founder, great leader, has done some incredible things. But he seems to be a lot more polarized. It's funny. He's very polarizing today compared to in the past. I see people, obviously you got the Marty parties out there hating on Winter Mutant market makers and all this kind of stuff, but he's a huge Solana bull, I would say, and he posts a lot of really good stuff, but definitely seems to not like Binance. But I guess let me know if you guys have ever used Binance US. If you've ever taken a trade on Binance, put it in the chat. Just put BNB if you've ever used Binance Chain, Binance Smart Chain, BNB, Binance.com, Binance US.
And speaking of
'cause
BNB, I want to say Ivan on Tech. I saw Ivan on Tech talking about this first. Want to give him his flowers here. He pointed out that just from a Fibonacci perspective, if you go the swing high of 2021 down to the bear market low, that last run up ran perfectly to the 1618, I believe. Yeah, the 1618. The next level logically is going to be the 2618. Let me just again double check that. Yeah, 2618. There's ones in the middle. That's why I'm like kind of checking there. Yeah, that worked out perfectly. And so if you were trading that move, yeah, I mean, you could, just kind of take profit at that 1618. You would have been good. You had a little extra entry to get in a little cheaper. He is suggesting it's a clear shot, not clear shot. I don't want to say he said that, but the next level up could potentially just be that 2618. That's going to be around $1,600. So if you're wondering, man, I feel too late, where's this going to run? I don't know if I would FOMO in on BNB. I would say there's a non-zero chance that it might come back and revisit this. So, maybe don't just full port into the bag there. But did you see that they're doing a lot for international relations lately, TJ? They are basically bridging the gap between China and America finances. Next thing you know, they're going to be getting along when it comes to that little island to the east that makes all our semiconductors. I'm not going to name it because I think just saying the country's name will piss off YouTube. If you can help us out and smash that like button, we really would appreciate it because, we're kind of talking about this geopolitical stuff here. But look at the international camaraderie that is happening from this. Currently, Western users, bro's learning Chinese, Cantonese, or Mandarin to trade on BNB.
Yeah.
So very, very bullish when you look at it that perspective. But then there's been a sour in the international relations, TJ. Oh, man, people aped in on some of these coins. People are mad at, when I woke up this morning, my whole feed was angry at CZ. They're blaming him for dumping this market. Obviously, it's not his fault, but yeah, those Chinese memes got wrecked. No crying in the casino, though.
Yeah, I would say, look, if you can't read the ticker, you probably don't have an edge, So, like, I'm just serious. Like,
I guess that makes sense. Dang it.
Yeah.
They're sitting there making fun of you in the Discord. You're like, well, what are you guys saying? They're like, look at this. I'm not going to say any racial epithets there, but they're making fun of you in the Discord. Okay.
Exactly. Just stick to what you know. And this is what I tried to tell people. This is what's unfortunate. This is why they call
Can I say round eye? Can I say round eye? I'm asking if I can. I'm not saying it.
Okay, well, let us know, chat. Yes or no.
Let us know, yes or no. Can I say that? Look, I got a little flavor to Deezy here. Valdez gives me a little leeway. That's what I've been.
Doesn't give you a pass for everything, though.
Well, J-Lo dropped the hard. Never mind, but look. Yeah.
J-Lo's dropped a few things.
I don't know if I should say. I'm not gonna say it. Okay, I was just kind of testing the waters there. I still say gypped. All right, let's talk about Solana here. Not gonna take that one away from me. Sorry, Romanians. Solana's next stop. I love Romania. Solana's next stop could be $300, everybody. There's three forces shaping the next rally. Just kind of want to go over it. Solana network activity is starting to pump. The rising inflows from the institutions and the ETFs. All right. So we're looking at some ETFs. This is interesting. I want to temper the XRP bulls here. This is for you, TJ. Solana ETPs brought in $700 million during the last 7 days. XRP, only $200 million. And so if we do get a flurry of ETF approvals, this might be a little canary in the coal mine. And investors now anticipating that we're going to get multiple ETFs on Friday. I don't know if that's going to happen with the shutdown. But I do want to share one more thing on Solana before I talk about the shutdown. Big deal with Athena. Jupiter launching Jupe USD, not the other thing that I said a minute ago. Jupe USD stablecoin on Solana with Athena Labs. So again, pretty bullish on Athena. You can get around 50 cents. Kind of fits in that idiot trade. And maybe it's going to be in one of the best altcoins under $1. I'm going to say it. I think it's one of the best altcoins under $1. I'm going to throw it in that list. You can't stop me.
Yeah, no, I like it. I did see somebody in the chat asking about Aster. And so let me pull that up real quick.
Yeah, obviously, Aster, largest droppers like in the 80s.
Yeah, largest pullback today. It was up above $2. It's down 13% at $1.70. I actually think these are I'm not even looking at the chart, but this is, in my opinion, a buy range once something starts to get max FUD. It still looks pretty stable here. I mean, we got our entry around 50 cents, but so I haven't really done much with it either way, but this $1.60 range seems to be a reasonable spot. And anytime, this is what you guys want to remember, when something's getting max FUD, kind of like what we were just saying with XRP. XRP is getting max FUD right now. It's probably a buy, not a sell. Aster getting max FUD right now. This is probably a buy point, not a sell. You don't want to be, when it's max euphoria, everybody's talking about how much money they've made with Aster. That's probably not when you want to buy it. You know, you're looking to buy low, sell high. And if you're new, and I know a lot of people are that watch this channel, it's hard to have that discipline if you believe in something being good to wait when everything's running. Now, again, we just happened to get in way back here because we saw it was somewhere between this pump. This is right when CZ put that tweet out. So it's probably like right in here. And so obviously I'm in a much more comfortable position where I can just sit on my hands, and I don't, even if it comes all the way back down to $1, I'm not too worried about it. So
I got some pretty good TA for Aster here. All right. So this is the Aster's first run up. You know, we kind of came into this little point of control, kind of, wicked above, wick below, but, could find its way back into this range, find its way back in the range, then boom, use it as support. Also, you look at the 1 hours, kind of where it first started to slow down there. Then you see during one of the earlier drawdowns, it came exactly into this range. Then it pumped also to another point of control here. You can kind of see kind of wicked above. That's going to wreck everybody trying to short it. You're going to short it again? All right, I'm a wick above. Now look at that. We kind of bounce perfectly from that range. I think, getting in this area is going to be a little bit better than above the area. But if you're just feeling that FOMO, you can't help yourself. You're like itching your neck like some sort of werewolf about a change. Go ahead and get yourself a little exposure.
There you go. Interesting. I'm going to end this poll here. I ran the poll in the YouTube chat. Is the 4-year cycle dead? No joke, exactly 50-50. 50% yes, 50% no. Very rare that we see a 50-50 poll. So there you go.
There you go. That lets you know, like we always say, no one knows for sure. And that's TJ led with that. Yeah, just say like no one knows for sure. If anyone knew for sure, they'd be a trillionaire. Okay. Following Elon Musk and Putin and Saeed, a lot of people are. But let's talk about
names.
If you got a dash in the name,
families. Yeah.
Maybe a good shot there. All right. Coinbase. I'm not going to get into this. I just want to shout out for New York. Type in NY if you're in New York right now. I am curious. I get a lot of it. I can't do this. I live in New York. Coinbase, though, now enabling staking for New York residents after regulatory approval. Get staking on your ETH, get it on Sol. I think there's a couple other ones on there, Cardano as well. So shout out. If you want to stake your Cardano, stake to DZ Pool. I do appreciate all the love. Saw your comment earlier there. The people that switched over I really on Lace. I read your comment. You switched over from Lace. I do appreciate that. So shout out to New York and shout out to Coinbase that isn't afraid of some New York regulators. But let's talk. Speaking of congressional stuff and government stuff here, we have some congressmen saying, "Oh yeah, all those crypto acts that you want, it's still in the cards. It's still gonna happen." We have a U.S. market structure bill on track despite the shutdown. Senate Republicans initially said they need to pass the digital asset market structure before 26. But consideration was already delayed before the shutdown. So where are we now? We're looking at Brian Stile, one of the original co-sponsors of the Clarity Act. He said the Republicans' timeline of passing before 26 was still the plan, still the current plan, despite the ongoing shutdown. Remember, yesterday I covered Charles Hoskinson. His prediction this month. So we're hearing either this month, either before the end of the year. And what they're asking for is regulatory clarity for the digital industry. It is my prediction. You're going to see DeFi projects that are closely aligned to Donald Trump start soaring once they get this passed here. That's what it's going to look like. That's what it's going to look like. Right behind them is going to be Aave, World Liberty Fi, Athena, Justin Sons in there. But his remarks came amid a vote on the stopgap measure failing to pass in the Senate, likely extending the shutdown another day. Wednesday marked the 8th day since we failed to pass the CR, the continuing resolution, because the fiscal year ended October 1st, to fund the government beyond September 30th, limiting operations at federal agencies, furloughing many, and affecting air travel for many Americans. Now, I looked into the air travel. TJ, I'm traveling to my honeymoon in a week, so this is actually affecting me. TSA is required to show up. However, TSA employees are not getting a check. A certain percentage are doing no-shows. So expect delays if you are going to be traveling.
Wow.
But, yeah.
Required to show up and not get paid?
Yep.
Wow. I mean, I assume they're going to get back paid. Like,
Yeah. They'll get
yeah.
back pay.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. There's the government for you.
Yeah, we use Atlanta. We live in Atlanta airport.
Get there early.
Oh man, it's roughly 20% or no shows. It's going to be higher in Atlanta. I already know.
Yeah,
but
at least, hey, Atlanta's a great airport. You just get there early, get in there, and it's like a freaking mall in there. You go have some lunch, hang out.
Yeah, once you get past the genitalia pat down, you're pretty good. Or the irradiation chamber.
Some people pay extra for that. You never know.
Well, you do the irradiation chamber or you do the genitalia pat down, and what's going on here? I'm going to move on. Let's talk about crypto here. What's wrong with me? No, the House passed the version of the market structure. So it's passed in the House through the Clarity Act of July, part of the Crypto Week plans. Still has experienced delays since being sent to the Senate there. Now, the SEC, they are continuing to operate with an extremely limited number of staff under modified conditions, and reviews of the crypto ETFs, that Solana ETF, XRP ETF, HBAR ETF, Cardano, you name it, Litecoin, Pengu. All these ETF applications are expected to be put on hold until the shutdown ends. But the electronic filing system will continue to accept submissions. So we might see a giant flurry of ETFs. It might be like a crypto renaissance here.
Yeah, I think the market structure bill is a pretty substantial deal, just like the Clarity Act and a lot of these things that allowed the stablecoins influx to come through. So absolutely think this regulation getting done will have a major catalyst to the market. I see the super chat here. Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Wonder if you could go over the AVAX chart and where you see it going this bull cycle.
Yeah, there's been a pullback.
Yeah, pull it up. I do think we've got crypto. I've been talking to Crypto Crank. We wanted to have him on today. He's one of our members, longtime trader, been on for a long time, does a lot of TA. I know he's got some stuff on Solana, and I'm pretty sure he sees a lot of really bullish stuff on Avalanche as well. That's one I've heavily allocated to recently because I feel like they're both, just from a macro standpoint, in my opinion, both Avalanche and Solana poised for big moves. Haven't seen them as much yet in this cycle. So we'll give you a short look at it right now because of the super chat, but come back tomorrow. And I believe he's going to hopefully be on here tomorrow. I'm chatting with him right now on the show. So we'll see. Crank, if you're still listening, look at your Telegram. Let me know.
Yeah, it is kind of just, kind of trading in this range here. It does look like there is maybe a little bit more room to the downside here. I would say let's go to the 4 hour. Let's look at the RSI. It is starting to get a little bit oversold. But not quite like that freaky, scary oversold area that we, kind of want to see. This got all the way down to 22. And recently we only got down to about 25. Might be another leg down. This also isn't exactly like, any kind of bullish confirmation. It's still pretty neutral. So the markets are kind of indecisive on this one. They want to say, look like, potential head and shoulders. And if that breaks down, you're looking at, fairly large move to the downside here. We're just kind of measure
towards $20 probably.
Maybe. Let's see here. Drum roll, please.
17.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, look a little wick lower there. But I'm not saying it's gonna, that head and shoulders, the bear formation will play out. It can't break up from the headline as well. I would say if you really want some exposure, I like it a lot better than if it was hitting against this yellow line. I think it's a good point. 18, I would say 20 is the definite, a wick below 20 is going to be about the floor, in my opinion there. But this is crypto.
Around 20 is where I kind of re-entered, or maybe 18, 19, 20 kind of thing. But I still think it's going to be one of the successful winners. It's another one of those you hear me talk about a lot, these crypto indexes and or indices. I do believe that there will be a lot of ETPs that include, weighted versions of a lot of what's in the top 10 to 20 coins. Avalanche is on most of those lists. They are playing the regulatory game. They are close with a lot of government bodies. We've already seen them do stuff with states of California a long time ago, state of New York, which is one of the most difficult ones. So
I got the hopium for the people there, though. I would wait for the double touch on this. Is AVAX priced in ETH, and if you look at the last run up, it basically did a double touch into oversold. Maybe that's going to be the fuel. It has to just get a little oversold relative to ETH before it could really start to rally, and then people start rolling their ETH profits into AVAX.
There you go. And Crank saying it's identical to Solana chart, breakout, then retest of breakout at 2605. So yeah, perfect. Maybe he can come on tomorrow and look at both of those with you. Obviously, those are two that I think could do really well. And then we're looking at ecosystem plays within those. So
I got one last story though. This is the most, I would say, interesting story of the day here. North Carolina, Fiserv announced plans for a state-backed Rough Rider stablecoin. Everybody, this is the Rough Rider stablecoin. TJ, I don't know if you've seen this thing, but look, that is I got to get my hands on this thing, man. The Rough Rider stablecoin.
Rough Rider stablecoin.
Shout out to North Carolina. But the great. I used to love some DMX back in the day. You know, he's never had a #1 hit. I was looking into him.
Really?
Up in here. That peaked at 27 in the Billboard Top 100. I was like, Are you kidding me?
Wow.
I thought it'd been a lot higher there.
I remember in school one time somebody doing a persuasive paper, and it was like an English class, and it was all about DMX, and the teacher wasn't necessarily, I can't remember what the topic was, but it was a huge stretch to make it fit within that topic.
Speaking of huge stretch, Rough Riders. All right, okay. Look, that's the comment of the day. Rough Riders expected at Brokeback Mountain. I'm not sure if that movie took place in North Dakota, but we'll allow it here. That was good. That was good stuff there. All right, who let the dogs out? You know, the song with Cisco is really good. Yeah, he has some really good ones. Shout out to the Rough Riders there. But yeah, North Dakota, I would say a stake-backed stablecoin. You know, we're kind of making jokes about the name here, but a fully dollar-backed stablecoin coming out potentially next year. You're going to see a lot of these, and Fiserv maybe something to pay attention to. Maybe they have the track with these governor mansions, with these state legislators. Maybe we'll see a little bit more from here, but hell of a name, TJ. Hell of a name.
And let us know. We're wrapping up right now, but let me know in the chat. I want to know, because this is a good question. It really made me think. What is your highest conviction altcoin play? If you had to pick one altcoin, I guess you could just go look at where you put most of your money. That's probably the answer. But if you know, outside of Bitcoin, we're talking about an altcoin. What is your highest conviction for this cycle, the rest of this cycle, into next year, not into next year? Yeah, I see Chainlink. I know a lot of people are going to be in the Chainlink. Arrow. I see a lot of people Arrow Link. Yeah, but put it in there. Let me know. We're going to have more shows later on today. Like I mentioned, come back on X and watch that space going on today. Aave staked, Ada, Arrow. And we're going to read through these and just keep chatting about it. I love to know more from you guys. We're going to try to ask more questions from the audience, keep hearing from you, so that way we keep this content focused on the stuff you guys are interested in, doing deep dives, making sure we don't miss any data. There's going to be a lot of opportunities. We didn't get a chance to mention it. We'll cover it more today, but Polymarket, there's a lot of opportunities. Options trading, DZ and I have been talking about looking into a little bit more. So Useless, yeah, that one's been actually doing well. You know, Pepe Turbo, interesting. XRP, Sol. All right. Well, yeah, keep them coming, guys. Let us know in the chat, and we'll see you guys at the
We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor, Arculus. They are a cold storage hardware wallet, helps you secure all of your digital assets for the future. Just tap this thing to the back of your phone and boom, you're in. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, but also wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the Disco fam. You've supported us a lot over the years. If you want to support the channel now, just use the code DC20. It gets you 20% off this card. It's the #1 way you can support this channel going forward. Thank you for your support. We'll see you at the top.